Hello, everyone. It is May 11th, 2021, and we've been following the market's response and analyst predictions about COVID. And as we'll see in a moment, the COVID isn't having that much of an effect on markets anymore. But here's the reality here in May. Um, in America, we've got 32% of the population fully vaccinated, and seeing headlines like this that um, there's a good chunk of people who won't get the vaccine, and from just other things I've seen, that 20% may be low. It may be closer to 25 to 30% of people who are spooked about it somehow. Um, and you see headlines like this: the uh, back orders are easing up, and but yeah, let's look at the market here. Right, here's the 5-year S&P. This was it, right? I mean, this was largely the effect of COVID-19. Um, there are certainly still some bears out there who believe that this is overvalued, but the prevailing sentiment is that the um, tremendous amount of stimulus and money being added to the economy to pull out of this is responsible for fueling this growth. And not surprisingly, because um, of all that money, um, inflation has been a pretty hot topic. I haven't seen any numbers that are specifically predicting it, but I think it's one of the ways that COVID could affect the markets for a much longer term than we've seen right here. Um, that the stimulus that's provided could have further consequences, either more upside in the market or danger from inflation. What Fauci's saying, that masks could become seasonal. Wouldn't that be something if Americans started adopting um, the mask wearing that they had in places like Tokyo well before COVID? I mean, 20 years ago, I remember seeing people in Tokyo um, wearing masks. I mean, not a lot, but they were there. It was a thing, and it'd be interesting if it becomes a thing in America. But unlike when we started creating this program, there's not a single mention of COVID on Seeking Alpha. Um, Here we've got comments about inflation again, and cyber currency, as you may have seen over here, the Dogecoin, and NFTs have become hot topics. Here over on Fox Business, I don't think there was any direct reference to COVID, but we'll see in the statistics later what it really looks like. Um, this is related to another topic that is found on a number of sites, which is um, people are enjoying too much money to not work. They're not motivated to, and federal and state politicians are starting to pull back on those unemployment benefits, because employers like McDonald's are saying that the labor markets are tight, which is really crazy, because all we've been kind of hearing about is like all these people are out of a job and unemployment, and if wonder if that if the stimulus and programs were excessive. But these politicians seem to think maybe so, and it's time to start pulling it back. U.S. hiring sharply misses expectations, right, with just 166,000 new jobs added, and it sounds like that there are a lot more jobs available, just hard to fill them. I haven't. It's been hard to find help myself when I've been out hiring. Over on The Economist, there was an interesting article about Latin America that I read through, and you read the sentence that no region has been more homebound than Latin America. It's really interesting. Of course, initially, this one here, this is China. And this is like Goldman Sachs's lockdown severity index. So even though China hit the most strict lockdown, it then rapidly came down and was hanging around these levels. Whereas you see Latin America comes up a fair bit and kind of stays pretty locked down. It talks about, of course, the tourism, the lack of tourism hurting the economies. I think there was one other stat in here that was really quite fascinating. Well, this was one that that even after those are lifted, growth is perhaps not enjoying those the rich benefits of stimulus packages, but actually that wasn't the one that was so not sure if that was the one that was most interesting. I think it was employment, right? This 16% maybe. There it is. The global GDP contracted by 3% last year, 2020, right, during the heart of COVID, which is curious. I would not have expected it to be quite that low, but in Latin America and Caribbean, output fell by 7%. And I thought this was interesting how they expressed it. In 2020, people in Latin America worked 16% fewer hours, almost twice the loss globally. So it's like saying globally the GDP contracted by 3%, but labor hours were down by 8%. So yeah. Let's move on to something more grim, and this is, well, in the United States, it's really going pretty well right now, and we're definitely on the home stretch there. But India is a much different situation, and it's interesting to see these cycles, because when we had hit up here, it seemed that we as America had established a tolerance for how much we would allow the virus to rage on before committing to greater lockdowns. But, kind of around the holidays here, in December, people didn't care. They had a different outlook, and I guess maybe even with the lockdowns in place, people violating them. But of course, the vaccine adoption, it's coming along, right? Not the best, not the worst. In fact, I think I've got this chart right here. There we go. No, this was yeah, there was one I was looking at that was comparing it globally, but I think the data was old, which, in COVID time means like 5 months. But here, this is the state of India, where it has just gone on 180 degrees. I mean, really, 6 months ago, India was known to be doing incredibly well. I mean, almost a leader. And look what happened. Make sure we're capturing the full period. Yeah, February 20th. In this chart here is daily deaths. So, of course, it's possible that maybe in the future we learn that there were more deaths over here that were unreported, but nothing really shows it like this. And I believe there is some accuracy to this. I haven't read enough to say why. I have heard some headlines suggested Indians' skepticism of statistics, though I was wondering if maybe a more valid reason was overconfidence, that India was doing so incredibly well. And of course, look, I mean, in February, there are vaccine rollouts, so, even more reason to be confident. Whatever the reason was, it's been really, really sad to see how COVID is just, creating this peak out here. So, yeah, it's continued to affect markets, affect headlines. Well, let me retrace that first comment on affecting markets. I think the immediate effect of businesses closing down was absorbed here. The COVID effect that we're seeing, subsequently is largely fueled by stimulus and the extra money. And COVID may continue to indirectly affect markets through the inflationary pressures that we'll watch with great interest. Good night.